G'day, welcome to This is RIFF, and today we're going to be looking at Molten Universe by Kyuss. Such an awesome tune, this one. Please note these tabs and lessons are never 100% correct. It's more just a guide for you. But I've tried to stay as true as I can to what I hear on the album, so you can play along with that, and I've used a bit of live footage I found as well. Also, in all my videos, including this one, the tab notational value or the rhythm that you'll see aren't correct at all. It's more I've just chunked the frets together to try and help it get across a bit clearer, and that's just till I get my head around the program that I'm using. And today I'm just using my Fender Jag as per usual, and that's plugged straight into my Fender Champ 100 solid. No pedals or anything, just using an overdrive setting to my liking. Plus, I always forget to mention, but it'll be worthwhile playing on your neck pickup if you can, just to give it a bit of beef. So to play this song, you'll just have to tune your guitar to C standard tuning, which goes like this: C, F, A sharp, D sharp, G, and C. But I'll probably just refer to standard tuning being E, A, D, G, B, and E. This amp's sort of cool because it's got a few inbuilt effects, and one of them's the vibra, which I actually just had on there for the intro. That was just to make it sound a bit more like the album. But for the actual lesson bit, I'll just put it back on clean for you. So you're just going to start by playing 0 on the top string, and then 7 on the A string. I'd recommend using your third finger there because you're then going to go to 5 on the top string, and so you could use your first finger to do that. Just makes that movement a bit easier. Then it's a 0 on top again, 7 on the A, and then this time the 5's actually on the D. So again, use your first finger there for that. So it does that run a couple of times. Then to finish that off, you do a 0 on the top string, and then a 7 on the A, and then a bend at fret 5 on the A, and you can sort of bring that down and back up. Josh does something like that. Then 5 on the top string, another 5, 7 on the A, and then you get a 5, 6 on the top string, another 6, then a 7 on the A, which is sort of bent, and then I think Josh does a little vibrato there. So something like that. The very first one, he actually cuts off the 6, so this is just me getting fussy, but it's a 5, 5, 7, 5, 6, and you cut that off. For the remainders, you just let that 6 ring out. So yeah, either way, it doesn't really matter. So I'll just play through that fairly slowly for you. Even there, I use my first to go 5, 6, and then I use my second finger for the 7, which seemed to work well for me there. So you'll play through that 2 times, then the third one's actually just a little bit different, where Josh just continues doing this over and over. And then everything else is the same. So for that one, it's 0 on top, 7 on the A, then 5 on top. And you just repeat that like 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to that bend. And so you can sort of bend the strings wherever you want. I might have occasionally be bending the 5 on the top, just there. So yeah, either way, you can chuck in those sort of things here and there if you wish. I'll also just add that there's a second guitar track doing something similar to this, just for the intro. And I'm only doing it with the volume going down and up, just because I've modded my Jag, so I'm unable to do that toggle switch thing to cut off the sound. But yeah, that's just worth noting. And that sort of just fades out. And that's just whipped in there at the end of the riff each time. And just leading into the riff to get heavy, there's an extra track that comes in doing a bend at fret 7 on the A string. And that's around the 43-second mark. And then you'll just play a heavier version of the intro. This third one here, there's one track doing that one, where the other one just continues doing the same thing over and over, and then it's just back to normal for the fourth one. So to play this tough as hell riff, there's actually a few options that you can do. So to annoy you as always, I'm going to throw a few at you and then you can decide whichever way you please. And then there's actually another guitar doing a real sick bit over the top. And so I'll throw you my ideas as well for that. You got a few options. You could do open as a power chord on the top string, which I sort of think Josh might do on the album, but yeah, let me know your thoughts there. And so the idea is you want to get that real tough, tight, dun-dun sort of sound. And what I do is I actually mute the strings with my fingers straight after I've strummed the strings, which is sort of just lightly pressing on them. You could also just lightly release your fretted notes as well, and potentially palm mute the strings to get this sort of sound. The setting I have here, it's a bit tricky to not get the harmonics coming through, but that's the general idea of it. And so I'm just holding open 2 and 2 on the A and D string, and I'm barring that. But you potentially could use 2 fingers as well, even as an option. And so you'll play that open power chord 10 times, sort of like in chunks of 2, sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The last 2 are a bit more tighter. And I'm just applying that technique that I talked about earlier. You'll then go to fret 5 on the top string as a power chord. So 5, 7, and 7 on the D. Josh likes to generally use those 3 fingers to play them. And likewise with the open riff, you want this one to really be tight and to cut off as soon as you strum it. And so there's a few ways you can do that, but generally I'm releasing the power chord itself. I'm still holding the shape. I'm just slightly holding the strings, which cuts it off, rather than letting it ring out. And then as a bit of extra security as well, my strumming hand will automatically block the strings as well. So that's just a bit of a technique thing. Sometimes you'll hear a harmonic my end as well. It's just because of my setting here and just my technique again. And so you're going to go 5, 5, 5, 5. So that will get strummed in like blocks of 2, like 1, 2, 1, 2. And then you'll go to fret 6 as a power chord on the top string. So 6, 8 on the A, and 8 on the D. And you'll do 2 strums of that, cutting it off again. And then it will be 3 straight strums before doing 2 bends of it. Josh is doing something like that, I think. And then we'll just go back to the open power chord again. So I mentioned earlier that potentially there's another alternative way you could do this. So rather than doing open as a power chord, you could actually do 7 as a power chord on the A string with an open on top. So that would be open, 7 on the A, 9 on the D, and 9 on the G. And so you play everything else the same. You just got that higher octave there. So potentially one of the guitar tracks is doing that. So you can choose whichever way you like there with the open or the 7 to start it. And you'll play through that 2 times. So on the 3rd time round, there's actually a second guitar track that's doing something pretty similar to this. I'd love to hear anyone's thoughts if they think differently to this, but this is as close as I could sort of get to it. And also on one of the live bits of footage I saw, it appears Josh was doing something pretty similar to this, except he was doing power chords. So in my example, I was just playing the E and A string rather than doing as power chords. So I'll show you both of those examples and then choose whichever way you reckon is best. So the way I played it was open on the top string and then a 7 on the A. And again, you're trying to cut it off as best as you can. And I was just using both those techniques for both hands there. So it's chunked together again, like, so 4 of them. And then it's a 5, 7, 5, 7 on the A string with the open on top. And so I'll go from the start. So I think I was using my 1st and 3rd finger to do that. And then after that, you're going to go to 10 on the A. I think I used my 3rd, or I might even use my pinky sometimes, but you'll go 10, 7 on the A as well. And then everything else is the same. But the last one does this sort of move, I think. And so it starts off the same. 5, 7, 5, 7, but this time it's 5, 4, and then power chord on the top string. And then on the live stuff, it looked like Josh was actually playing it as power chords, so potentially you could play it like this. Which also sounds awesome. Around the 150 mark, it's back into that intro riff again. It's just a bit more flat out. And you're going to run through that 4 times of the same riff. When it comes back around to that second type chorus again, or the wicked heavy riff, Josh again likes to keep you guessing on your toes because he's doing something extra here. So this is going to be very rough. So that was pretty rough there, but the first one's exactly the same. Either is open as a power chord, or you could do the 7 on the A string as a power chord. So yeah, whatever you want. But then it's this second time round that the other guitar track does something very roughly like this. I can definitely hear like this sort of bendy thing going on there, but it's so muddy as always for Kyuss and so tricky to decipher. And so what I'm doing there is a 7 as a power chord on the A string, in chunks of 2 again. So 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm also chucking in open on the top string. And so while you're doing that, it's worthwhile to also bar fret 7 on the D string, because coming up, you're going to release that power chord right there. So that's 7 on the A, 7 on the D. And you can chuck open on the top string if you wish as well. And then it's back to the power chord, so with the fret 9 on the D string. So you run through that 2 times. And then I think Josh does something like this, where it's 7 on the D, 9 on the G, and you play that as a power chord, and then you bend the G, or something to that effect. With that open sort of ringing out the whole time. And then finish that the same, except when you get to the 6, you'll do 2 strums of that, and then it's 7 strums, sort of palm muted, but build it up. And then that will kick into the next sweet riff. So around the 2:24 mark, there'll be this sweet sort of bridgy type outro section, and it's open on top, then a 7 on the A, and then a 5 on the top string. And just like the intro, try and use those correct fingers there if you can. So your 3rd finger, then your 1st finger, to make it a bit easier. Then open on top, 5, 6 as a hammer on the top string. Use your 1st and 2nd finger there if you can. And then an open on top, which sort of kickstarts it back round again. To 7 on the A, 5 on top, open, 5, 6 as a hammer on top string. But then to finish this off, you go 5 on the D, and then a 7 on the A. So yeah, 1st finger, 3rd finger, if you can. You can throw some bends in there if you wish, here and there, maybe for that 5 on the D, I might have been doing. And then you'll go to 6 on the top string as a power chord. And the feel here is sort of something like this, like a boom, boom, boom. Chuck a few extra strums here and there if you wish. I might have even thrown in a few opens here, moving around, because that just naturally happens for me, which I'm sure Josh does here and there as well. But the general gist of it is 6, 6, 6. So 6 on top is a power chord, 8 on the A string, and then 8 on the D string. So 6 played 3 times, and then you'll go to fret 3 and do the same thing. So a power chord at the 3rd fret on the top string. So then 3, 5 on the A, and 5 on the D. And then after that, you'll play open on the top string, which sort of buys you time, and I reckon Josh will naturally throw it in there. It just feels right, before doing 5 to 6 as a slide on the top string as a power chord, and that's done twice. And that's just to finish it before starting it again. In my example as well, when I played through, I was doing all downstrokes just to make it sound tougher, but you don't have to do that. Definitely worthwhile for those power chord bits as well. And then the ending, I just did an open power chord. But I'll talk more about that in a second. So over this part, there's some little licks going on, so I'll just play through them and then explain what I'm doing. Please just note with these licks here, the feel's obviously not going to be the same as the master himself, but if you're playing along with the album and you're hitting these frets, you should be pretty sweet. So the first one, I think Josh is bending both 14 and 14 on the D and the G. Again, it's so muddy as hell there, but you could even maybe bend the 14 and 14 on the G and the B potentially, which also sounds cool. But I'm going to go with the D and the G. Or you could just do the G by itself, which also sounds cool. And then you'll just sort of bend that down to 12 as a vibrato on the G. The next one you'll just play 14 on the G twice, and then a big bend on that second one. Bring it back down, then a 12 on the G, and then a 14 on the D. Little vibrato again as well. And then the last one starts at 12 on the G, then a 14 on the G. As it bends, bring it back down, then to 12, and then D string 14, 12, 14, and then G on the 12 as a vibrato. So yeah, something like that. Then at the very ending, there's a few ways you could finish this. So you could do open as a power chord, cutting it off to make it tight. You could also do 7 as a power chord on the A string, or you could combine the two of them, which sounds cool as well. Well, I hope that helps you out in some way for this wicked song. If you've got any questions, leave a comment below and I'll catch you soon. Bye.